Thanks for joining the video guys. My name is Sunny. So in this tutorial I will be teaching you the de facto tool for bug bounty hunters or web pen testers. Yes, you guessed it right, the mighty Burp Suite. And I have created this tutorial specifically for absolute beginners. And let me assure you, even if you know the basics of Burp Suite, then I'm pretty certain that you are gonna take away something from this tutorial, because I have covered most of the, you can say, the core components of Burp Suite in great detail. So guys, if you are just starting out, then this tutorial is gonna help you a lot. So guys, let me give you a brief theoretical overview of Burp Suite. Burp Suite is basically a tool that you can use for finding loopholes, or you can say bugs on a web application. And let me tell you, Burp Suite is undoubtedly the best tool available out there for finding bugs in a web application. Basically guys, Burp Suite is a proxy. Now what does it mean when I say that Burp Suite is a proxy? I will explain proxy later in the video when we will actually do the practical, because in that way it will be a lot more easier to understand what the proxy is and how does it work. We will start from absolutely scratch, from setting up the proxy, then configuring the target scope. Then we will move to the very important tool called Intruder. Intruder is a very vast tool that you can use for brute forcing usernames and passwords on a web application. But Intruder basically does a lot more than just brute forcing, that you are going to find out later in the video. Then we will move to the sequencer. Then we have tool like encoder tool basically lets you encode or decode data in multiple forms. Then we have something called repeater allows you to modify the requests. So guys, without wasting a single bit, let's begin. Burp Suite is pre-installed on operating systems like Kali Linux and Parrot OS. In order to download Burp Suite for platforms like Mac or Windows, go to the portswigger.net and in product menu go for Burp Suite Community Edition. Then from here you can download the Burp Suite from this button. Just hit the button and your downloading should start right away. Installation steps are very simple. After installing, start the Burp Suite. In order to start Burp Suite on Kali Linux, just type sudo Burp Suite and hit enter. On your first run, Burp Suite is gonna ask you to accept its terms. Click on I agree. From this page, temporary project is the automatic selection, because community version of Burp Suite does not allow you to save project into hard disk. So click on next. Here you can use Burp defaults, basically the default configurations of Burp Suite, or you can load configurations from an existing file. Just click on load from configuration file. Since we are just starting out, let it be use Burp defaults. Click on start Burp Suite. So guys, this is the Burp Suite. As you can see, it is absolutely overwhelming, especially for a beginner. But do not worry, I will explain all these fancy tools in the best possible manner, step by step. Alright. So guys, before doing anything practical, I want you guys to update the Burp Suite to the latest version, because if you are using an older version of the Burp Suite, then you are missing out on many key features that I'm going to use in this tutorial. So go to the help, click on check for updates, and if you are using Burp Suite on Kali Linux, then run the sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get dist upgrade command. Then the command should upgrade all the packages including the Burp Suite. All right. Now guys, the first thing that I'm going to do, I will change the font size. As you can see, the default fonts are barely visible. So go to the user options, and under the display tab, we have font size. Now select the size from the menu that fits you. 14 should be enough, and we can change the theme as well. Click on theme, and let's switch to the dark. As you can see guys, dark theme is certainly better in my opinion, but for the recording purpose, light is better. So I'm switching back to light theme and back to the dashboard. So guys, here BurpSuite displays all the links that it has crawled, or either it is crawling, and down here it displays all the information. As you can see, this is the event log section. Basically it displays everything that BurpSuite does in the background. If any error pops up, then we can certainly identify here and then fix accordingly. On your right side, these features are available to pro version only. As you can see, basically guys, the difference between the community version and the pro version is the automation. With the pro version, BurpSuite kind of automates most of the tasks, but I assure you the community version is more than enough to find the vulnerabilities. All right, even with pro version you will have to do a lot of manual stuff. Now click on the proxy tab. Now let's understand how the proxy section works. So click on proxy. Proxy is absolutely essential part of the BurpSuite, because in the proxy section we can monitor the requests that you send out from your web browser and the responses that you get back from the servers. Proxy section also keeps track of the URLs that you have visited. So let's understand how the proxy works. Earlier in the tutorial I specifically mentioned that BurpSuite is a proxy. Basically BurpSuite sits between your web browser and the server. Let me simplify this. When you search anything from your web browser on, let's say, search engine like Google, the search query directly goes to the Google server, and then Google responds back by sending the search result back to your web browser. So this is how a normal flow of communication is. But when you set up a proxy like BurpSuite, the request that you send out from your web browser gets intercepted by the proxy. Then we can decide what to do with the request, whether to forward the request to server or just drop or delete it here. Now guys, your question may be, why does BurpSuite need to intercept the requests or URLs? That is because the tools that you are seeing here, they need data to work, and in web applications data is passed through URLs. So proxy section basically intercepts the URLs, and then we can forward the URLs or requests to appropriate tools. Now down here you can see use Burp's embedded browser. If you click on open browser, then it should open up the embedded browser. Now guys, this browser, the embedded browser is specifically configured to work with BurpSuite, and this browser basically comes along with the installation of BurpSuite. And you can also configure external browsers like Firefox to work with BurpSuite. There you will have to perform additional tasks like installing CA certificate, then setting up your entire browser as the proxy. If you go to the dashboard, down here you can see proxy started on 127. Basically this is the local host, and 8080 is the port number. Basically inbuilt browser is automatically configured to listen all the incoming traffic on port number 8080. So guys, what I recommend is update the BurpSuite to the latest version, because the inbuilt browser works absolutely flawlessly in the latest version. Now let me actually demonstrate what I explained a few moments ago. Make sure to turn on the intercept feature. Now back to the browser, and let me request, let's say, YouTube, and press Ctrl and enter. It will automatically add .com. As you can see, BurpSuite is flashing, and if I go to the proxy, as you can see, it has intercepted the request that I made from my web browser youtube.com. and if I go back to the browser, as you can see, it is hanging here. It is because browser is waiting Burp Suite to forward the request that it is holding or has intercepted, and we can drop or delete the request right here, but I'm going to forward. Now if I go back to the web browser, as you can see, YouTube has been loaded into my web browser, and you can notice a strange thing here, not secure. This is because Burp Suite removes the SSL layer. SSL layer basically encrypts the traffic that a web application receives and sends out, and Burp Suite needs data in plain text to work. Now back to the Burp Suite, and let me forward the remaining requests. Now go to the HTTP history. HTTP history basically saves the URLs that you have visited. As you can see, YouTube, and down here we have these bunch of JavaScript files. Basically these files are linked to the YouTube. Burp Suite crawls everything, all the links that are linked to the website. That's how, guys, the Burp Suite proxy works. Now that we have understood how the Burp Suite proxy works, we can move to the next thing called target. So click on target tab. By default, Burp Suite basically intercepts all the web applications or URLs that you visit, and when you are actually doing or testing a website, then you don't care about anything else except the website or application that you are testing. So guys, that's where we can use target scope feature in the Burp Suite. Basically, target scope allows us to tell Burp Suite to crawl the application that you are testing. It will ignore everything and only intercept the application that you are testing. So there are two methods for adding a website into the target scope. Actually, before adding an item into the target scope, let me explain these links. As you can see, we have these bunch of links in two colors, gray and the black fonts, and gray font basically is indicating that you have visited the website, and these black colored fonts are basically the sites that are linked to the YouTube. Alright, we haven't actually visited them, and these links are basically linked to the YouTube. Burp Suite basically crawls all the links that it finds in a web application. Now, in order to add an item into the target scope, we have two options. First one, you can right click on the application that you want to add to the target scope. Click on add to scope, go with yes, click on scope, and here you can see, guys, it has added the URL into the target scope. And the second method that we can use, let me remove the existing URL first. Click on add, write the full URL, https www.youtube.com. now click on OK. As you can see, item has been added to the target scope, and we have to complete two more additional steps. Go to the proxy and options, check the button from Intercept client request section, and check the button from responses section as well. Now we are good to go. Now let's actually check whether the target scope is working or not, and YouTube is in our scope. So let me visit, let's say, if this pops up, click on keep it, goal.com. Now as you can see, guys, it hasn't been intercepted, and because it is not in our scope. Now let me actually visit the website which is in our scope. I think it is YouTube. As you can see, guys, it has intercepted the site which is in our scope. So I'm going to forward it. Hopefully, guys, you have understood how the proxy and target scope works. Now we can filter out these unnecessary links. Just click on the box which says filter, click on show only in scope items. Now click outside the box. As you can see, we only have the item or URL which is in our scope. Now you can basically check out the file structure, how files are saved in the server. As you can see, now guys, that we have understood how the core components of Burp Suite work, we can finally move to the next component called Intruder. And Intruder is personally my favorite part of the Burp Suite. Basically, Intruder allows you to brute force usernames and passwords in a web application, and Intruder is the most flexible tool available out there for brute forcing. And Intruder does a lot more than just brute forcing. You can automate attacks like SQL injection or XSS as well. Alright, you are gonna find out later in the video. Now guys, I'm going to demonstrate Intruder in another website, so I will have to remove website from our target scope. So in target scope, let me remove YouTube from the proxy section. Under options, we have to uncheck buttons from Intercept, requests and responses sections as well. Back to the Intercept, if you see this button, logging of out of scope proxy traffic is disabled, then re-enable this. And from the HTTP history, I'm gonna get rid of all the junk that we have intercepted. Right click and delete selected items. Back to the Intercept, I'm going to turn off the Intercept feature for a bit. Back to the browser, the website that I'm going to use for demonstrating Intruder is Acunetics. Basically, this website allows you to test your web pen testing skills online in a legal environment. So visit the domain testphp.vulnerab. Now let me turn on the Intercept feature, and I'm gonna visit sign up. Back to the Burp Suite, and let me forward the request. So guys, this is the page, login page, where we are gonna test the Intruder. And in the username field, let me type test, and in password field, I'm gonna type a random password. And down here you can see the password that I have put in here is the correct. This is very much intentional. You are gonna find out it soon. For now, click on login. Back to the Burp Suite proxy. As you can see, it has intercepted the information that we passed to our login form, and we can check the parameters that we sent out to the forms on your right side. As you can see, if you click on body parameter, the information is listed in much more organized way. Now we can send this information to any of these tools. All you need to do, right click in the blank area, and then you can send information to any tool. For now, I'm gonna send it to Intruder. As you can see, Intruder has flashed. If I go to the Intruder, as you can see, Intruder has received information from this domain. So back to the proxy, there is another method that you can use for sending this information to any of the tool here. Just click on action, then you can send information to any tool. And I'm gonna forward. By forwarding, the information will be saved into the HTTP history. And in case guys you forward the URLs or information accidentally, then you can basically send information from HTTP history tab as well. And I think it is the user info page where the information was passed to from login page. And down here, yes, as you can see, if you right click on the URL, then you can send the same information to any tool. All right. Now back to the intruder. As you can see guys, we have information for this domain on serial number 2. Basically information is being received in the ascending order. The number 1 will always be the default. As you can see, this is the local host, it will always be here. Now in number 2, now click on positions. As you can see guys, Burp Suite has marked a few areas. As you can see, basically these are the areas where we can inject the input, right? So that's why they are being marked by default. So Burp Suite basically thinks that these are the potentially vulnerable areas that you can exploit. So I'm gonna clear all these marked areas first. And in the attack type menu, if you click on here, as you can see, we have different types of attacks: sniper, battering ram, pitchfork, cluster bomb. I will demonstrate all these attacks. All right, for now we are gonna test the sniper. Now sniper attack is used in the scenarios when you already know either username or password. In our case, we are gonna test the passwords. All right, so username is going to be constant because we already know it is correct. We are only gonna try the different passwords. So you have to mark the field that you want to test. So I'm going to test the password field. So I'm going to select it and then hit on add. As you can see, field has been marked. Now it is going to inject passwords in the password field. Now click on payloads. Now here we have to supply the word list to the intruder. As you can see, payload set, it is 1. This is because we only have to supply one word list. And payload type, you can basically use all these tools that intruder provide, but for now we are only gonna need simple list. So down here in this box, we can either load the existing word list from your hard disk, or you can basically supply words manually. So in order to load from your hard disk, click on load and browse the location, and let me select this list. As you can see, it has listed all the words that were present inside the list. So I have prepared this short list for demonstration purpose, and clear button basically clears the list. We can add words manually too. Let me add, let's say, root, hit enter, then we have tour. Now we are good to go, and click on start attack. So this is just a warning pop-up. There are some functionalities that are not available for the community version. This is all right, just click on OK. Sniper has started to inject the passwords into the password field. As you can see, now intruder has tried all the 5 passwords that we supplied to it. Now in order to find out which one worked, there are a few methods that you can use. On the length column, as you can see, we have these numbers. Basically length column displays the size of page in bytes. As you can see, for the most part it has returned length of 253. Let me click on a random 253, and down here guys, in the response and request and response section, what basically it means, request means what did you send to the login form. As you can see, this is the username and this is the password that we tried. And in the response column, as you can see, response that we got is you must log in, means these credentials are not correct. So here the trick is you will have to hunt for a different length, and in our case we have the different length 62757. If I click on here, as you can see, we supplied password and username test, and then in response tab we have got a whole bunch of information. Basically, when you log in successfully, a web application has to pull additional information about the user, like username, email, and all the relevant information. So naturally the page size gets bigger. So this is the case here, and you can analyze everything from top. For example, this is the HTTP code. As you can see, it has been 200 means page has has been loaded successfully, and down here you can see set cookie has been set. Now what does it mean? A web application usually sets either a cookie or session when you log in successfully. As you can see, in our case it has set the cookie. So down here let me check the response, and so as you can see we have logout page. It automatically means we have logged in. So guys, you will have to analyze everything line by line. There are a few more effective methods that you can use for verifying whether you have logged in successfully or not, and one of them is sending information to the comparer tab. So I'm going to send two pages, one with 373 length and another with the bigger length. So after selecting, right click and send to comparer responses. As you can see, comparer has flashed, and as you can see, screen has been split into two sections. In the top half we have information for the 373 bytes, and down here we have for the bigger page. Now click on words. Now it is going to basically compare word by word. So we can basically identify colors down here, and yellow color is indicating the newly added words, blue is deleted, and this color is basically indicating the information that has been modified. So as you can see, if you analyze from the top, again we have the set cookie, the usual 200 response. Now let me scroll down here. I'm going to look out for yellow text because I want to see the new information that has been loaded. And let me scroll down. As you can see, we have absolute. This is just the CSS. Down here, as you can see, user info, your profile. So your profile, this is a new word, and yes, this is the information for the user. So here you can see guys, we have information for the user, and if I scroll down, as you can see, user info page, and it has basically pulled the information after logging in. So guys, that's how you can use the comparer tab. Now we have an interesting feature here, sync view. If you check this button, then what this button is gonna do, it scrolls both the pages simultaneously. For now I can't do it because page on my left side, it doesn't have the sufficient information. So when you test a real world application, there will be a plenty of information on both sides. So now I'm gonna close and back to the Intruder. Best method for finding out is just click on the request. In response, click on render button. Basically, render button displays how the page is actually looking inside a web application. As you can see, we have logout page. Down here we have information for the user. You can't actually click on these buttons. It just renders and then takes the screenshot. Alright, so guys, this is probably the better method, or you can say the best method. So guys, that's how the sniper attack works. Now I'm gonna close this thing out and back to the Intruder. Now we are gonna test the battering RAM attack. So I will have to clear this request. I need to send the fresh request from HTTP history. So again, let me send this information to the Intruder, and in positions, let me clear the default marked area and select battering RAM. And this time guys, I will have to select both the fields. Now after marking both the fields, we are good to go. So guys, what basically battering RAM attack does, it takes the word from a word list, then inject same word into the both fields. It will inject, let's say, a word test in the username field, and same word will be injected into the password field as well. This attack basically exploits the common mistake that people make, like putting the same word for username and password field. For example, username admin and password admin. So click on start attack. Sorry guys, I will have to set the payloads before starting the attack, and let me load the list, and now I can start the attack. Now as you can see, it has used all the words that we supplied. If I click on any word down here in the request, you can basically see it injected same word in the both fields. As you can see, it eventually found the correct credentials as well, and we have already gone through how to check for the correct credentials. Now we can test another attack. Now let me select Pitchfork. In the Pitchfork mode, we have to supply two word lists. So I'm going to mark both the fields username and password. First word list will be for usernames and second for passwords. Now Pitchfork mode works by taking words from both the lists one by one, of course, then compare them against each other. For example, it will take one word from username word list and one from password word list, then compare them against each other. So let me start the attack. Again guys, I forgot to load the payloads. As you can see, we have two payloads this time, so let me load the same list. And for the password, let me start the attack. So as you can see, down here in the request tab, it took words from both the lists, then compared them against each other, and eventually it was able to get the correct credentials as well. Now the last attack we have is the cluster bomb. Let me select cluster bomb. Cluster bomb is similar to Pitchfork. It also takes two word lists, but it works differently. For example, it takes first word from username word list, then compare it against each word present in the passwords word list, and then it will repeat the same cycle for all the usernames and passwords. Alright, so it also needs two word lists, so I will have to mark two areas. And payload, let me set word list for the first payload, this is username, and for the second payload, let me select the word list. Now start attack. So as you can see, it has tried all the combinations. There are total 16 tries, right? And like I explained earlier, it compared every single word from username word list to passwords word list. And with this attack also, we were able to find correct combination eventually, as you can see. So guys, that's how you can use the different modes of attacks in Intruder. So guys, earlier I also mentioned that Intruder can be used for automating attacks like XSS or SQL injection. So let me demonstrate that as well. I will have to start my Apache server because I have prepared a page specifically for the SQL injection attack. Localhost, I think it's inside the demo folder. I have sqli.php file not found. SQL, I think. Let me remove sqi. Yes, this is the sqi, and I'm going to try an SQL injection payload, and let me hit enter. As you can see, a request has been intercepted. Now let me send this request to Intruder, and in the Intruder, go to the positions. As you can see, the potential vulnerable areas have been marked. Let me clear them, and we are gonna use the default sniper attack because we only want to inject payloads into one field. Add back to the payloads. Now let me add the manual payloads, and 1 or 1 equal to 1, and comment or 1 equal to 1, and again comment. Now we are good to go. Let me start the attack. Now as you can see, we have different response length For the first one, let me go to the response and render. As you can see, for this length we have try harder, last payload did not work. However, for this payload or this payload, as you can see, it has leaked the information, username dimalu. As you can see, username, email, all the fields have been exposed. So guys, that's how you can basically try different payloads automatically. Now guys, let's move to the repeater. Repeater can be used for modifying requests. For example, we tried SQL injection in auto mode with Intruder, but many times you will have to perform attacks like SQL injection or XSS manually. That's where we can make use of repeater. You can send the request, then it will return the response in detail. So let's try it. Let me send the SQL injection page to repeater. Yes, this is the page. Let me send it to Intruder. Sorry, not Intruder, repeater this time. And as you can see, now down here I can pass the information. Let me modify this to or 1 equal to 1 and comment. Now click on send, and guys, as you can see, we have the response. Payload did not work. It says try harder. We may need to encode the URL. When you perform SQL injection, you have to encode URL for the most part. And if you don't know, read about URL encoding. So repeater tab basically gives you flexibility to encode URLs as you type automatically. What we can do, let me erase everything and right click. We have URL encode as you type. Just click on it, and now let me write the payload or 1 equal to 1, then comment, and now let me send the request. As you can see guys, this time it has leaked the information with URL encoding. So that's how guys you can basically try the things like SQL injection manually from a repeater. Alright, now let's check Decoder tab as well. Decoder basically allows you to encode and decode data in multiple forms. So in this box, if I type let's say Sunny, now I can basically encode or decode this word in multiple forms. If I click on encode menu, as you can see, we have option for plain text. This is already a plain text. If I click on URL, then as you can see down here, it has been encoded into the URL, and we have option for encoding it into base 64 URL as well. So guys, you can basically experiment around these features yourself. They are relatively easy, and I can also apply hashing algorithm. Just click on hash, then we have all the relevant hashes like SHA, and down here as you can see we have bunch of varieties here. And if you click on smart decode, then data will be decoded back to its original form. So guys, decoder is a useful feature to have. Now we have something called extender. Now extender, as the name suggests, allows you to extend the functionalities of Burp Suite. If you click on B App Store, here we have extensions for Burp Suite. This is the marketplace, and extensions are available for both free and community version, as you can see. And let me install Auth Analyzer extension. Just click on here. On your right side you can read about the extension, and down here we have option for installation. Let me click on the button. As you can see, it has been installed. Now as you can see in the toolbar, it has added an extra button, Auth Analyzer. Now you can configure this and make use of this. In order to uninstall, go to the extensions, and here all the installed extensions will be listed Just click that you want to uninstall and go for remove button. Yes, and that's it. As you can see, it has been removed. So guys, that's pretty much it for this tutorial, and thank you very much for taking your time and watching the video.